you haven't watched this before, but you've watched in seasons past or tournaments past, we've got a little bit of a different flag set going on this time. Our goal here is to take the princess to the Dragon Lord and accept his offer in this what's called Three's Company flag set. I'll go into more detail after we get these chests. We've got gold, more gold, and we're going to have the obligatory key.
So our runners will not be without want for gold here. So again, we're dealing with the Three's Company. So of course we'll be able to defeat the Dragon Lord as a win condition. But it would probably be a little bit faster to instead, again, turn in the princess. Now, what our runners are going to have to do for that is they are going to need to find the Swamp Cave, as well as, obviously, Charlotte Castle. And, of course, we've got 3 towns right outside of Tantagel.
The Alefgard Metropolis.
Yes, the metropolitan area of Alefgard. So Tristal MTG opting not to go to Breckenary and finds Garenham.
So we're getting hand axes all around. Get us some nice offensive gear.
Hand axe should allow this Drakey to go down with no problem on Cyberdark's screen. So as our runners see what is all available to them in their shops, we find Cantlin, which does have 3 shops, so there's a good likelihood of seeing some of the endgame weapons. There's magic armor right there.
Unfortunately for our runners, given with the particular flag set, keys are of utmost importance because you have to rescue the princess. I mean, keys are obviously important in most seeds, but you could theoretically get through without one. In this flag set, you cannot. So it's a little disappointing to see that none of these are Rimmildar if you're one of the runners.
Absolutely. So the next thing they'll be looking for is hopefully another town to be Rimmildar, or potentially a cave. A key can be in a chest. I believe there are up to 3 keys in chests. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
And Ferran Burgundy opting to go for a small grind, taking out some blue slimes and just marching back and forth on these desert tiles. Hand axe and large shield tries taking on the droll, but then nopes out of there after taking a big hit. And Scorpion sends him home.
Cyberark is loading up on the fairy waters to be able to knock out these mid-range monsters with Abandon. One of the new flags that was added in this alpha version that we're using for the league is that if you throw fairy water at a monster, it will do hurt damage, which is 9 to 16 damage. If you throw torches at a monster, it will do 6 to 9 damage. And that damage is not resistible except by metal slimes, who still have a 50% resist, or it does 0 to 1 at a coin flip.
And with all the scorpions that are out there, that pretty much one-shots a scorpion, so you could very easily take those fairy waters and skyrocket up to, a quick level 3 or 4 with relative ease. Speaking of level 3, Ferran Burgundy has made it to level 3. I did not quite catch his stats there.
High Spirit's getting his first kill off of Skeleton. Jumping straight to level 3. And at level 4, we have 3, 6, 5, 5. And the spell of Hurtmore. Alright. This is about to get real fast.
Yes, that Hurtmore is definitely going to be a welcome sight. Now, pretty much everything they're seeing is going to be fair game for killing and getting that level. So, should be good to see. And of course, once they get a little bit more health or a heal spell, they'll probably start venturing out a little further as High Spirits is making his way south.
And then we come across the Armored Knight, which is nice, except for he has a good chance to one-shot you. But
with the heal spell.
He has heal.
And so that's going to get High Spirits a big boost in experience there.
And if that heal is a 75%er, that makes these Armored Knights incredibly safe, because your first hurt more is, I believe, guaranteed to put them in healing range. And then after the heal, your second hurt more would, I believe, be guaranteed to kill them. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's the case. So it's going to be a nice free set of fights with 2 hurt more kills without any damage coming from the Armored Knights. It might make a good grind later, but it also is one thing you can kind of count your blessings on when you're making that Charlock dive.
Absolutely, and obviously with their low levels that they're at, like one Armored Knight, as we saw, put High Spirits up 2 whole levels, and another one would easily get him to the next. So just like that, High Spirits taking down another monster, reaching level 7 in the process.
Sorry, Twitch decided to show me an ad, so I have no idea what just happened in the last 30 seconds.
A little bit of grinding, a little bit of walking around. We haven't really seen anything new yet. High Spirits venturing out the furthest, and he just gets sent home. But again, all of our runners now have the Hurt More spell, so we should be seeing some divergence as they move out into the world.
These Hurt More seeds always add an interesting extra dynamic, just because they render, ordinarily you need to worry about some of your gear for, fighting on the Dragon Lord, because you're usually not going to Hurt More him to death. But given this particular flag set, the Hurt More could mean you don't even need to worry about a weapon. You certainly don't need to worry about trying to find Erdrick's sword or something like that, unless you're going to, or depending upon what the guard tile for the princess or in Charlock is. But this helps you make the dive with less gear by having this early Hurt More.
Speaking of gear, probably the hands down most useful piece of gear that our runners are looking for is Erdrick's armor. Again, it is not required to beat this particular flag set, but it makes the dive into Charlock that much better. Obviously, with that armor, you are healing with 1 hit point every step that you take, as well as getting that 28 defense, as well as reducing both all Hurt More, and Dragon Lord 2 breaths by half. So it just makes everything much, much more survivable. So they do kind of want to find that stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if some folks go without it, because, again, it is not completely necessary.
And Ferran comes across the Staff of Rain cave, which in this particular flag set is not useful. We mentioned the Three's Company, but another one of the flags we've got active here is Open Charlock, which means that there is no need to collect the staff, the stones, the token, because Charlock is immediately available for exploration. Now, it's not short Charlock like it's been in other flags. You have to make the full depth. But it looks, and looking on Ferran's screen, it appears as though Charlock has a basement in it. A second basement in it this time.
Yes,
so that's an interesting location for a cave.
Particular Dragon Lord seems to have invested in the double basement excavations here. So we'll like to see what goes inside of there. If it's the swamp, that could be very interesting, being able to rescue the princess and walk right in. But we're not going to get to find out, as the Spectre has Hurtmore and sends him back to Tantagel Castle.
That is one of the fun little features of Open Charlock, is your locations can end up inside the little moat, inside that little thing, and be right next to the castle, or right next to Charlock.
Spirit's still maintaining that 2-level lead. Go ahead.
The other fun thing about Hurtmore Seeds is when they try to troll you like they have been doing to our runners, giving them Hurtmore, but then not much magic to use with those Hurtmores. So they still have to be kind of... looks like at level 8 it's getting better for High Spirits, but you still have to conserve a whole lot, especially given how far they're having to travel to find anything of note. Those 6 Hurtmores will go away real fast.
Yes, absolutely want to conserve those for the best rate of return on your enemies that you can get. So maybe taking some swings when you would rather cast that Hurtmore, just to maximize those as you venture out and get that grind going.
We see on Ferron's screen that the green dragons have sleep and baby breath. So, enough to be a nuisance, but not any real danger. He was able to wake up and use another Hurtmore to finish off the green dragon.
Of course, green dragons being a possible Charlock monster, so seeing sleep on them is not something we want to see, but the baby breath, certainly it could be far worse, as you mentioned.
So at this point, only Ferron has found any extra locations. Is that correct?
I believe so, and all he found was the Helen Roper cave. That is the staff being, if Stanley is the jerk, then Helen most certainly would be like kind of jerk number 2. Of course, my other Nick. It is. It's a Three's Company seed. So we've got to find the whole cast tonight. I'd be interesting to hear chat's opinion on who should be Larry Dallas, because he of course was my favorite in the show.
I don't know. Mr. Furley's probably my favorite. I'm not sure who's quite goofy enough to get that role here.
Yes, Mr. Furley, who went on to become the incredible Mr. Limpet, most certainly has a place in all of our hearts.
The turnip guy, yes, I like that. Radishes. It is radishes. Cyberdyke Dart comes up on the Charlock complex, and let's see if he has any more success in reaching the destination.
With it being surrounded by desert tiles there, it's hard to make it without getting an encounter, and as we can see, there are fairly treacherous encounters around it, and it looks like Stop Spell on the blue dragon.
That's a very nice thing to see.
And it's jerk number 1, Stanley's Cave, pushing us out.
So I guess this time the Dragon Lord built the Rainbow Drop and opened the bridge the other way. Got a little claustrophobic and wanted to explore.
Clearly.
So we have now found Charlock, and we have found the 2 useless caves of the seed. So the good news is that any new location that is found is going to be of some benefit to our runners.
Yes, of course, being a search spot in coal, Hawksness also having searchable areas, a couple of caves that are chock full of chests. So anything new seen will definitely be a welcome sight to our runners. Oh, and the bonus cave as well.
So chat is saying that wizards have hurt more like they do in vanilla, and so one other flag that's been active for the entire league here is repel in dungeons. And while it's nice just to not run into any encounters, so that helps out, it specifically if you get those early Charlock monsters that you may have a chance of defense breaking on your dive, it can make your Charlock dive go a whole lot faster. And if they have something particularly nasty, like we see with Hurtmore with the wizards, or Sleep with the green dragons, you can avoid any risks of that as well, which means that and what you repel is based upon your defense. So it does mean that things like the Silver Shield, which seem to have less utility when you don't need to deal with the Dragon Lord or necessarily grind endlessly, can help you out still by allowing you to repel more monsters.
And agility not seeming to be a problem with our runners here, that certainly is likely to come into play, as they should be repelling or able to repel quite a few Charlock monsters when they get to the point of being ready to dive in there.
And Tristal has found the grave, so let's see what he can find in those first 3 treasure chests. He gets the key, which is huge. He gets another key, which is not quite as huge. And then he gets a torch.
Still, having that backup key is nice.
It also allows him to go ahead and make that dive to the basement to see if there's anything worthwhile there. And still have his key as a backup for whenever he dies. He can continue to set up the gold grind here. If he can get all 5 treasure chests in the grave, then he can grind anything that's at the castle. He doesn't have to open a couple chests at the castle first. But he found out that wolves have DL2 breath, and so I believe he's going to be starting his gold grind pretty early.
So he will definitely use those keys to go purchase more keys behind Tantadil Castle, and then most likely we'll see both the basement and the treasury in short order. Meanwhile, Ferran Burgundy and High Spirits both reaching level 9. Looks like the outside spell and repel spells both came with that.
And it looks like we have the mountain cave underneath the castle, which Tristal noped out of and then decided he changed his mind and is back in now.
Well, it's a pretty good play. That way, picking up some of the chests in there, it just furthers the gold grind, as he still has never left the castle, technically. So those bits that recognize whether or not the chest is open can continue to get full. So I like this move.
Meanwhile, High Spirits has come across coal and found that it contains absolutely nothing. So let's add one more to the useless locations list.
Ah, the disappointment that is coal. Well, since nothing exists in coal, coal most certainly does not need to exist.
But High Spirit's coming across another town, and it is Hawksness. Now with Hurtmore, he potentially can knock out this monster. So that will be interesting. Ooh, but a golem is not something you're going to be able to take with Hurtmore.
Not without a fairy's flute and a significant more damage output than what he's showing right now. However, he does use that hurt more on another monster outside and picks up level 10. Which brings a heal spell. Much welcome.
I missed that first item in the mountain cave for Trystal.
So did I. So many screens to watch. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in one.
Chat is saying it is a cursed belt. It appears that Trystal has sent himself down down the wrong corridor and is having trouble righting himself here.
Fortunately, the mountain cave is a fairly recoverable cave if you get lost, so it looks like he might be back on track now.
But the red dragon is not something that's as easy to recover from.
Yes, Red Dragon definitely has other plans for what Trystal MTG should be doing, and actually Cyberdark also getting sent back to the castle almost simultaneously. High Spirits deciding to grind the monsters on the desert tiles inside of Hawksnest, and now he's dipping out of there as well.
And there is Erdrick's armor for Trystal, so that's really big.
That is
now, in all the
find.
shops that we saw, did we ever see a silver shield?
I saw magic armor. I saw large shields. I did not, but I did not actually catch every single shop that we went into, so I'm not certain.
Well, it does look from what he's grinded that he's only interested in the broadsword and the large shield, is my guess. Oh, never mind. He's continuing the gold grind again.
He just wants a little bit of everything.
Probably wanted to check to make sure the sword wasn't there first before he grinded an extra 9,800.
And High Spirit's about to get the disappointing news, or perhaps he already has.
Yeah, High Spirits is our one person who's come across Cole and Hawksness up to this point. And Cyberark is coming upon the grave now, so we may have another key sighting soon, assuming that he is able to make it to the able to make it all the way to the chests.
Of course, with no
He's
herb
not
and
in good shape at the moment.
Yes, not hitting that level that level 10 that has the heal spell. We're gonna rely on some tremendous run luck here. But he does get the key, so the most important get of the cave is good to go. Look at that hero walk. Repel must be active in here.
Yeah, he decided not to go back to the castle, though, which is an interesting decision. I mean, I guess the big thing here is let's find the swamp cave first, but he was already in low health shape, so you might think about, since you're going to have to be going back to the castle soon anyway, let's go and set up a gold grind.
And instead the golem signs him back, sans gold grind. So meanwhile, Trystal MTG using the key to go into the Cantlin shop and finding a silver shield there, so he may restart that gold grind. Ron Burgundy lolling his way back to the throne room yet again. Didn't quite catch what took him out, but always interesting to see those big techs up on the screen. Lets us know how the runners really feel.
20 south and 7 east as our coordinates. Now that is a nice thing to find.
I believe it was a large shield that Cyberdark purchased just then. But he did see that there was a silver shield in the shop, so that piece of knowledge is now there. I believe that's the only shop, the Keylock shop in Cantlin, to show a silver shield thus far.
I was wondering if he would do this. The Death Necklace is an interesting new addition to the search spots in that, just like with the chest, if you open the Death Necklace chest, any subsequent opens will give you a small amount of gold. You can actually do the same thing with the search spot Death Necklaces. After you get it the first time, you can keep searching that spot and getting gold like 120 at a time, which is not great if you're trying to grind for the silver shield, but if you're, in coal and find that and there's a broadsword sitting in the shop, it's a really convenient addition.
Absolutely. In fact, that cursed necklace as a child, when I ran this game, played it over and over and over again, I would dive the mountain cave and grind that to get broadswords and things. The memories.
Crystal finally checking the
back of Garenham. Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Well, how about an Erdrick sword?
So, Tristal MTG is very well kitted out, and the back of Garenham has...
He was hoping for Swamp South. But he got Swamp North, which means that he has now... I don't know if he's seen Charlock yet or not, but he's pretty much found everything he needs at this point.
I am a little surprised to see him not go for the tile. The only thing I can think of is maybe he's looking for a fairy flute. As you mentioned, there really isn't anything else to go for, aside rescuing the princess and diving Charlock. Has he seen Charlock?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's found Charlock, though, so he may be looking for that first before he goes and rescues the princess. I'm not sure which all players have found it. I know Cyberdark has, I know Ferran has. I'm not sure about the bottom two.
Actually, speaking of Ferran and Charlock, he is opting to grind Charlock enemies, again with that Hurtmore spell. You are guaranteed, high-level enemies to maximize those Hurtmores, so he just hits level 11 right there with, I believe I saw 35 magic points came out of that.
35 magic point gain. Wow.
And just like that, magic is not really that big of an issue anymore for Burgundy.
I will note that on Tristal's side, with the addition of the large shield plus Erdrick's armor, his defense is now at 81, which is defense breaking those wizards. So now if he casts Repel in Charlock, he will no longer encounter wizards. The next little milestone he's going to be looking for is 86, which would be another 10 agility away, which will knock out the werewolves and star wyverns.
Meanwhile, Cyberdark 86 taking down the blue dragon on the spike tile in the swamp cave and rescuing Princess Gwaelin. Making his way outside, still doesn't have a heal spell, but picking up the princess. So it'll be interesting to see where this plays out. Clearly going to the end to top off. So our first princess save. We'll see if he can make it to the bottom of Charlock and turn it in for a quick steal of a win. High Spirit's now making his way to Garenham, so he will find the sword as well as Swamp North in just a moment.
Now, Cyberdark may be hoping that Erdrick's armor plus herbs is going to let him make that complete dive successfully and take a shot at it right here. We'll see.
Crystal MTG going back into the mountain cave behind Tentigal Castle.
I wonder if he's trying to set up a gold grind for that silver shield.
Very likely. Very, very likely.
Because that silver shield is a plus 10 defense over the large shield, so as I mentioned before, you'd not only be knocking out werewolves and star wyverns at that point, but also green dragons, which we already know have sleep. So that would definitely improve the dive.
Yes, not only making so the encounters, from a damage perspective, but just the encounters do take up time. So if you're not getting stopped every, 30 seconds instead of every 20 seconds, that can actually, you can come from behind and sneak out a win that way. So for on Burgundy, at 11, the only runner that has not picked up Erdrick's Sword and Shield. Meanwhile, High Spirits, fully equipped and kitted out with the experience, but has not quite, is taking on the Blue Dragon, so he should be getting his princess in just a moment. So we might see ourselves a very close finish happening in just a few minutes. Of course, while that's going on, if you enjoy what you're seeing here, please make sure that you give a follow to our runners, CD, or rather, our runners Cyberdark 86, Tristal MTG, Ferran Burgundy, and High Spirits, as well as our production team on the restream is CD Improv. Tracking the stats, we've got Kamion Reno Kai and Angel FM. I'm Belu V, and with me is Tilo Tilo. You can always help us out. We all do a lot of this randomizer stuff ourselves, so give those follows, turn on the bell, and you can see more of this pretty much any time of the day.
Chat is mentioning the builds, and I don't think we've talked about that yet. There are 4 potential builds that you can make of your players in this game. There are Strength HP, Strength Agility, HP MP, and Agility MP. Basically, there are 2 stats that get penalized, and 2 stats that get their full values on stat ups. And depending upon your name, it actually affects which of the stats are going to get penalized. And ordinarily, the battle has always been in terms of which one do you do? Do you do Strength HP or Strength Agility? And there are people in both camps for that. But in this particular flag set, since you don't have to kill anything of note necessarily, the Strength is not as beneficial. And so there is a lot of looking for, do we go Strength Agility, or do you go Agility MP, or do you go HP MP and just hope you can last longer and have more heal mores, or run away and have more heal mores? And it's really made a much more interesting variety of builds throughout this whole week. And as you can see right now, we've got Cyberdark running Agility MP, Tristal running Strength Agility, High Spirits is running Strength HP, and Ferran is running, I'm not sure.
Yes, each runner seems to have their own kind of feeling towards it. I think everybody kind of has their own opinion. I personally like the Agility MP build because while you do have the bonus and the drawback stats, it's reversed in the early stages. So I like having a little more strength and a little more health in the early game, maybe being able to get those first couple of levels faster, and then by the time we get to middling levels and the Agility MP takes over, I feel helps a little bit more for the dive. But that's my personal feeling towards it. And it looks like Cyberdark 86 has made it to the bottom floor of Sharlock, and a red dragon is trying to stop his progress.
Manages to get away, fortunately, and is just that much closer now. But knowing that red dragon is there is very scary. And here you can see exactly what we were talking about with the repel, as he gets surprise attacked by a wizard who throws a hurt more on him and does 20 damage, which causes him to use an herb that if he had the large shield instead of the small shield and repel, that wouldn't be an issue.
While the armor, of course, reducing that hurt more to 20, normally it'd be hitting him for 40 or more, so that armor definitely helping a lot with this dive here. And probably why he decided to go with it so quickly. I believe it was only level 9 when he got the princess. And another red dragon. And the run fails. Red dragon sends him back. He will have to get that princess again. And there appears to be a perma-lol on Ferran Burgundy's screen right now. Oh, it went away.
And Tristal's finally our first runner to find Rimuldar. Obviously, after finding the grave, that renders Rimuldar pretty much useless, but he did find it. He's still, I guess, looking for Sharlock.
Yes, I don't think he has seen the Sharlock Castle, so It always is a bit frustrating as well when you kind of know everything and you feel like you're close, but you're missing that one last piece of information that you need, be it the location of Sharlock or, where's the Jerk Cave or something along those lines.
Yeah, as a general rule, when you're playing Randomizer, your goal is to have your exploration done before you have your grinding done. Which, given that you usually have to grind pretty far, is not an incredibly tall task. But in flags like this, you can get to that go mode. You can be ready to dive a whole lot earlier, which makes the ability to be stuck with exploration just draining your time, makes that a much higher possibility.
Meanwhile, Tristle MTG picks up the big chest of nothing in the bonus cave.
So yeah, I'm thinking that High Spirits hasn't seen Charlock either, based upon the fact that he seems to be wandering around with the princess as well. So
interesting how just a little bit of information can change what our runners are doing. As Cyberdark picking up the princess, or at least taking on the blue dragon to take the princess for another dive.
And High Spirits has found Charlock now, and so he is going to begin his dive, again with that 89 defense power, so will not be getting stopped by wizards, werewolves, green dragons, or star wyverns. But stonemen are still a possibility.
Luckily, stonemen are quite easy to run from, so not a whole lot to stand in High Spirit's way. I would say, short of there being something horrible on the spike tile, it is his race to lose at this point.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that because level 12 was heal more, that should High Spirits get in trouble with those red dragons again, he will be able to attempt running several more times than Cyberdark could when he didn't have heal more.
Exactly. So being able to pop that heal, even if you fail a run 3 or 4 times, you can heal more up and get your way out of there. And honestly,
Lord of the Synth in chat, will that take me to the castle? Well, I'll take you to a castle.
So High Spirit's making a fast order of these basement floors, going through several floors without seeing an encounter. Runs first try from the golem. Another golem following him. It's golems all the way down.
And now Cyberdark has gotten that magic level 11 that has heal more and all the MP, so he is, I'm sure, ready to dart back toward Charlock and finish this dive off.
Fron Burgundy checking the chest in Rimmildar. He gets a fairy water for his trouble. It's a very expensive fairy water.
And Cyberdark gets killed by an armored knight on his way out of the swamp cave, not able to replenish his resources in time for the dive. So he's going to have to go save the princess yet again.
Definitely feels bad, man. So as he goes to do that, High Spirit's making his way to the trap tile. 2 steps away, he sees an armored knight, but runs away first try. And armored knight on the spike tile.
And as we discussed before, that's just an easy 2 hurt mores, and you're good to go. Oh, he had hurt. How about that?
That just makes it all the more sweeter, so get those GGs out, as High Spirits is just steps away from taking the victory. come and knock on my door. It's Three's Company 2.
And it looks like the final time is 40 minutes and 3 seconds.
Yes, very good game, High Spirits. Of course, if you enjoy this and you want to give it a try yourself, you can download the randomizer. There's a link in chat that you can follow. You can also join our Discord. We're a pretty nice, open, welcoming group. We can get you started off and give you some tips and pointers to get going. It's a lot of fun to run, so for our 8-bit aficionados, give it a try.
Alright, so Cyberdark has now retrieved the princess again, had enough magic points to get outside, and is going to make that walk back to Sharlock. Likely going to be able to make it to the bottom this time, given the fact that he has heal more now, and given what we know about the spike tile.
Yes, and Tristal MTG just right behind, also picking up the princess. So we might have ourselves a little race between Cyberdark and Tristal. Looks like Cyberdark opting for a more MP build, and what is Tristal running there? I'm trying to see.
Tristal's running
between
Strength
their
Agility.
stats.
So the interesting thing here is that, assuming that Tristal did find Sharlock, if he did, I was looking at a different screen. That whole, this whole monsters you can repel between the small shield and the silver shield could really come into play, since Cyberdark is slightly ahead in terms of actually progress making it there, but is likely going to get stopped by more monsters as well.
So we will find out if Tristal MTG has that knowledge. It looks like he's walking the right direction. And yes, he does find Sharlock. Ron Burgundy picking up some keys behind Tantagel. I don't believe he has found Sharlock just yet either. Of course, it is absolutely the largest thing that can be on the map. So always frustrating when you can't see it on the map.
I think Ferran was actually was one of our first ones to see Sharlock. It's just been a long time since he's been there because he's been looking so hard for keys. Now that he's got those, he's seen pretty much everywhere else, and should be able to get moving pretty quickly, especially given that he's level 13. It's probably too late to catch up with either of our other runners barring a wipe, but he won't be as far behind as as it probably looked like he was for a long time, as he was still without keys.
Oh, you are right. He was grinding in there earlier. I totally forgot about that.
Ferran finding the Sword Magician.
Ah, the beloved Sword Magician. He is my favorite sidekick in the Dragon Warrior Randomizer, version or build rather.
And we have High Spirits in here now, I believe. So GG High Spirits.
Thank you. Howdy. I'm glad the Rainbow Drop Cave was easy to find.
Yes, that was very interesting right there underneath, having the Dragon Lord kind of keeping his own drop nearby.
Just think about how rare that is, because that can't be there in most flag sets. Because you need the Rainbow Drop to actually get to there, so the only time that could ever show up is an open Sharlock. So that's how rare that happened.
I was surmising that the Dragon Lord was stuck in Sharlock and was trying to get out, build the bridge to get out.
Yeah, he he lost the rainbow drop and he just kind of dragged the guy there. So he's like, I can get out of my own castle. Because I had a seed this morning that I did, a practice seed, where Hawksness was next to Charlock, and then like 5 steps away was Rimmeldar. And we were joking about the reason why he didn't destroy Rimmeldar, but he destroyed Hawksness is because he locked his own treasury and he needed to go across the road to buy keys so he could get his stuff.
Very, very interesting business going on with that. Meanwhile, back in the realm, we've got Cyberdark86 making the final turn towards the spike tile at the bottom of Charlock. Tristal MTG almost there as well, just has a couple floors to go.
Yeah, early hurt more is always nice. Level 3 hurt more. Although I still died a lot. Like, considering that, like, all of us died a lot. Considering we had early hurt more, everything had Dragon Lord Breath, or we had no health and no magic to use it for a long time.
Yeah, it was kind of a trolly hurt more. We actually brought up you had I think at one point you only had 2 casts of it and then 3 casts of it, so could certainly see a bit of frustration going there, but also interesting watching the runners as they kind of picked and choose who they were gonna, or rather what they were gonna spend those hurt mores on. So actually you did use that quite well and got a quick early couple level lead over the rest of the pack, which nobody else was able to surmount.
Yeah, thankfully I found that Armored Knight early, so GG to Cyberdark. Yeah, I found that Armored Knight early, so that helped.
Yeah, that shot you forward quite a bit. Anything else stand out to you in this seed?
The towns were sure clumped. By the way, where were all the caves? What did I find? The Rainbow Drop Cave and Garingham's Grave. I think those are the only 2 caves I found, like, walking around the entire map.
They were
And
kind
I never
of
found
out.
Rimmeldar.
Yeah, I believe Ferran Ferran and Tristal found Rimmeldar, but Ferran was the only one to get his initial keys in Rimmeldar, I believe.
Yeah, the grave had 2 juicy keys waiting at the top, and so I took So one thing that was kind of funny is I took a gamble. Like, I got the keys and then I died and went back to Charlotte, or to the castle. I'm like, I'm just gonna open up the chest, see what's in here, and of course there's gold in there in the armor. I'm like, you know, I could have done a grind, and then I'm like, nah, that's fine. And then I go in, oh, there's the mountain cave. So I'm like, I wonder if I should save up enough gold to see if there's a silver shield behind the locked door in Cantlin. And I'm like, if I can't, I'll get a flame sword. So I just saved up 15,000 and bam, there was the silver shield.
Right there in that locked door, absolutely. And looks like Tristal MTG has now completed the Threes Company arrangement. Cyberdark86 finished just before him with an official time of 46:50. Tristal MTG at 47 minutes and 59 seconds. And Ferran Burgundy looks like he is making his way into Charlock.
GG, high spirits.
GG.
Fun police suck.
What does?
The fun police.
They killed me a couple times on the map, but that's about it.
I died in the top right corner, bottom floor, Charlock. I had you beat.
Ah. Well, that's Charlock for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, the big
I
difference
decided
was
to grind
that
an extra level to 12, so I probably would have been there much earlier if I decided just to go at.
I was at 9 when I went down.
And so, in case you hadn't noticed, we've got Cyberdark86 and Tristal MTG joining us in the commentary booth. Good game, gentlemen. A very close finish between the two of you. Tell us your thoughts about the seed.
Go ahead, Tristal. I just have my say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just got here. I didn't know. Yeah, I saw a High Spirits finish, and I hadn't even found Charlock yet, so that was concerning. Yeah, I guess I just kind of explored the entire wrong half of the map, really. So, other than that, kind of interesting getting the 3 towns just right there. I wasted a lot of time early on. The beginning of my run was kind of terrible. I imagine I was behind by quite a bit experience-wise. So, that's just how it played out.
Well, you actually finished a level ahead of CyberDark86, who opted to finish at 11. I think your first dive, CyberDark, was at level 10.
Oh, it could have been 10, sorry.
Whichever one it was, you went down without Healmore, and that was kind of the big difference. Is after a couple of failed Red Dragon runs, you couldn't get away any further, couldn't get more intense.
Yeah, I was pretty close, and my heart was beating like anything, but yeah, it just didn't work out.
Well, as you mentioned, you might have felt kind of behind, but even though you hadn't found Charlock, you still finished, just 8 minutes behind. So not too far behind there. So I think CyberDark, you were actually the first one to make it into Charlock with the princess. You just didn't have the stats at first, whereas High Spirits had grinded a little bit earlier, so he found the stuff a little later, but was a little more prepared his first dive down.
It was a nice seed overall, though. Everything was really close. All you had to do was find keys.
Charlock was a bit out of the way. You kind of had to, just because it's just the land was so divided. You kind of had to take the right path to find your way over.
True. Yeah.
By the way, where was Rimmildar?
It was way in the north. It was like on the north coast, in the center, kind of.
Oh, I died on my way up there and then just never went back. So
I ended up finding my first keys in Garen's grave anyway.
yeah, me too.
Same here.
Yeah, I actually used my last key getting the princess. So if it didn't work out, I was gonna have to go all the way back to Garen's grave to get keys again.
I did the same, actually.
So did you ever die this many times before, having hurt more at level 3?
Well, most of my deaths were before level 3, I think, so.
Oh, you did? Yeah, well, I picked up fairy water right away and went outside and saw a skeleton and didn't have any issues after that.
I don't think I saw a skeleton the entire race.
They were hovering right outside Garenham, actually.
All I found were scorpions.
And Ferran Burgundy just having to get past one last red dragon in front of the Dragon Lord before he'll finish up his thing. So everybody get your GGs out for Ferran Burgundy. We'll see if we can't get him in here to hear his thoughts on the seed as well. Let's see. How does this do for our standings, I'm wondering? Or actually, we'll probably have a reveal of that in just a moment as well. So make sure you stick around for that too.
Yeah, there will be a reveal of the next week's races coming up right after this.
I should know that, shouldn't I? I knew that.
Yeah, just flex my, my admin powers and throw that in there. How about? We'll just say it was an administrator secret only. And then CD Improv goes and ruins it. Thanks, CD!
And Ferran Burgundy does finish the seed out with an official time of 52 minutes and 59 seconds. So next week's flag set is going to have a vanilla map featured. Or anybody looking forward to that? What are y'all's thoughts on the next set of flag sets that we'll be running?
I'm looking forward to the playoffs when we run randomizer flags again.
I mean, there's randomized chests. Does that count? We're going back to old school here. 1.0 just.
Ugh. I have feelings.
Back in the glory days, back when the randomizer was new.
Back when I was good at this.
Do you remember when the randomizer map wasn't randomized? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Honestly, I genuinely don't.
I remember when this was Twitch Plays Dragon Warrior before it was Dragon Warrior Randomizer.
I definitely helped with plenty of that.
You looking forward to some Challenge Mode 5, Tristal?
Well, yes, absolutely, and I totally know all aspects of what that implies. I know everything about Challenge 5. Guys, what's Challenge 5?
Challenge 5 means no numbers.
Yeah, sure, why not?
You have to figure out everything based on like just your knowledge of the game, like casting spells to see how much they cost, or how things work and stuff like that. It's fun.
That actually does sound pretty neat. I bet that'll be super awesome for chat, too, trying to discuss and figure out what everything is.
Well, me and Mr. Holmes, I think it was, did challenge level 10 in the last tournament or whatever when there was no words at all. That was fun.
No words. So you have even no idea what's in your inventory or what spells you're casting, right?
That was fun. No, it was challenge level 5 that we did. And that was fun because I was thinking of something else, but that was challenge level 5 we did in the last tournament, so people got to see it a little bit, where there is no numbers and like there was no numbers on the track or anything, so everyone had to guess what was going on.
Yeah, chat had an absolute blast with it too. So hopefully it'll be as fun it'll probably be as fun for the viewers as it will be for the racers. It might be more fun for the viewers than it will be for the racers.
Oh yeah, but that's a few weeks away. We got to worry about not randomizer next week.
And it looks like we do have Ferran Burgundy joining us into chat. Good game for Ferran. Care to give us some comments about the massive lollery that was going on your screen there?
Oh, absolutely. That was I knew heading into this. There was a reason it was referred to as even a remote chance. I mean, it was even said in the SRL room. We were saying to High Spirits, good luck to all of those fighting for second place, because we knew it was a foregone conclusion that High Spirits was going to finish well ahead of all of us.
Hey, I said I still have to catch Mr. Holmes too, okay? So we're all fighting for second place somewhere.
Technically, you're ahead on tiebreakers now.
Yeah, that is true. Now I'm not fighting for... Dang. Okay, I'll take my...
The
Haha,
prosecution
bullshit.
rests, Your Honor. No, that was my way of attempting. And Dragon Warrior Randomizer have been two things that have not exactly coexisted with me.
So
We'll see how next week plays out, but I have a feeling that I will be taking a fairly lengthy hiatus from this particular format for definitely for the unforeseen future following this league. May I be back this summer? Possibly. We'll see how I feel, but I just don't know the pluses at this point. But again, that's just me personally. That's, I can't speak for anybody else. I don't necessarily want to speak for anybody else. This is just, the opinions expressed are solely those of Ferran Burgundy and do not reflect anybody in the Dragon Warrior Randomizer community, the Randomania networks. Is that good as far as a disclaimer? Are we good on that?
As long as it means you're still commentating, we're pretty okay.
Yeah, we love your voice. Plus, you're still actually in the playoffs right now with your ranking.
You are. So you might not get a respite if you continue to do well. You may be forced into an entire 16-person elimination match.
So I'll be bounced out of the first round. Okay. I mean, it's further than I thought I'd be, in all honesty. I figured right now it'd just be, all right, playing out of the stretch and just kind of leaving it at that.
Nope, you're like, what, 13th right now or something? Something around there, 13th or 14th. So you definitely have a real possibility of being in the playoffs.
Looks like at the moment here, apparently 14th is the... I'm ahead on tiebreakers. Wow, that is a large buckhole.
See,
Well,
that's why
or just
is you've been
anybody here.
going against really good competition. So you get to feel good that you still have a real, you're still in the playoffs going against really hard competition.
well,
Yeah,
with
I'm
all
presuming
this,
that Buckles is the equivalent of like strength of schedule.
Yeah, pretty much.
so with
Well,
this discussion
that explains a lot.
of
As I'm looking down the
rankings,
list here, it is higher than anybody else in the tournament or in the league.
Well, thanks everyone for the race. I guess we're going to be going over next week's matchups here, so I'm just going to leave it to the commentator.
yeah, as I was trying to say, speaking of rankings, we should see what next week's groups will be. Next week, of course, our runners will be grouped by their position, which can make for some interesting changes in the final layout. So if we are ready to do it, it looks like our screen has jumped over, and I go ahead, Theo.
I'll just mention that you can see right now Faron, Cyberdark, Lord of the Seventh Hemisphere, Slime in the little yellow color. If there is a tie, that would right now everybody's seated based upon extra tiebreakers, strength of schedule, and whatnot. But if there is a tie, that would result in someone missing the playoff via tiebreaker, because the people in and out both have the same number of points. There will be an additional tiebreaker race between those players to get their berth for the playoffs. So as long as you tie for last place in the playoffs, you will have your opportunity.
All right, so I suppose we should go ahead and go through these groups. You want to take them maybe a group at a time, so we'll go 4 by 4.
All right. Well, on the top here, we've got High Spirits, Mr. Holmes, Angel FM, and Smashy. I don't think anybody who's paid any attention to Randomizer needs any introduction for those four. When you look at the top four and you see those names, you go, yeah, that seems about right. So that should be a really, really fun one. And it is also worth noting that those are the only four who have guaranteed that they will be in the playoffs at this point.
Our next group is going to be Ryguy 3745, Fryteeth, Tristal MTG, and Archfield Monk. So Tristal, good job making your way in there. And that is our second group of 4, rounding out the top 8.
Then our next group after that is going to be Diabetes the Second, Asher 1611, Game Boy F9, and Ali Jabrap. Both of these, the last round and this one, are ones that first place is guaranteed to make the playoffs. Third place, I believe, is or second place is almost certainly going to make the playoffs. So as long as you get a top 2, you're probably in good shape. You're 16 is a guarantee to at least make the play-in, but it would take a lot for that not to get you through. So those 2 races are ones where people who don't win still have a decent fallback opportunity. It's the next one where things start getting a little dicier.
Yes, and our next group of 4, it will be, at least for some of them, win or go home. So the next 4 runners for group, I believe this is group 4, is Zarnax 42, Ferron Burgundy, Cyberdark 86, and Lord of the Synth. So we will see some rematch today as well between Ferron Burgundy and Cyberdark 86 next week on Randomania.
After that, we have Mr. Slime, Brian Williams, J-Man 1865, and Leggy Starscream. And as mentioned before, 16 is kind of your target number that you want to get to. 14 is probably dangerous. Anything below that, you're probably out. So this is where you start getting into the field where it's possibly just win or go home. Certainly, if you get second or third or fourth, your season's probably over.
And moving down in the ranks, starting from our 21st seed is Amazing Toaster, followed by Bobski021, Thilo. That name seems very, very familiar, and of course Arimessi. So again, this group also, I believe, a first place finish within this group should get them a possibility. I think math is not my strong suit, at least when it comes to rankings and things.
Yeah, for any of these ones, first place is almost surely in. Second place is iffy, and then is likely going to be in the play-in, and then beyond that, no. So that's going to continue to be the theme as these go on. Well, actually, starting with this next group of Vralis, Jackamus Wedge, Sausage Link 83, and Will Wagner Music. That's one where it's probably win or go home. You're very unlikely to be making it with 13 points.
And our next group, holding only 9 points, Bismarck 189, Braxis Muse, Scorpion Max, and some, I don't know, Velu V person will be rounding out that group. So for this one here, unlikely to be moving on, so playing just for fun and bragging rights. So should be a good one to watch, though, just in terms of seeing kind of how the bottom of the pack goes against each other, and so still, because these are grouped by rankings, should be a fun thing to watch and an exciting race.
After that, we have CD Improv, Wealth 35, Urson Desir, and Centroid 41. I cannot view this one as a neutral observer, but the winner of this one is likely going to at least be in the playoff race, so that there's still something there to play for. This last group, unfortunately, have all been officially eliminated.
And so the last group rounding out the end is the Seawolf 1, Jay Coper, the Hangry Canuck, and Kaiten 619. So be sure to tune in next week for more Dragon Warrior Randomizer League action as Week 5 comes into play. Again, as we mentioned earlier, the flag set will be different. This time utilizing a vanilla map with shuffled locations of chests and towns and caves, but the map itself kind of being in a vanilla state. And so, unless there's anything else to add, Tila, would you like to take us out?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody behind the scenes, CD Improv, our restreamer, and Kemi and Renakai and Angel FM, our trackers, commentator here, Velu V. Thank you to our racers, Ferran, Cyberdark, Tristal, and High Spirits. Thank you for everybody for watching. You can follow all these people on. You can see the links there on chat. And this last week is going to be the last week of regular season, last week for a lot of runners. So everybody's going to be giving it their best shot, and it should be really entertaining. So have a good evening, everyone.